Hey guys, it's the Captain here, and today I've got Yoki here from a German brand.
Yes.
Of some, I said Lehle, you said
Lehle.
Lehle.
It's not Lila, it's not Lille, it's Lehle.
And today we're going to talk about switching.
Yeah.
And because Lehle.
Yeah.
You don't make guitar effects pedals in the true sense of, you don't make distortion pedals or echo pedals or anything like that.
No.
You make solutions, switching solutions, I think you...
Signal routing solutions.
Signal routing solutions. And the wonderful Danish Pete, when he first started working at Andertons, had this bag of...
Solutions
that came in unbelievably handy when we needed to either route different mixes of amps or guitars up, or the stuff that amazed me the most was when we had unwanted noise in the room and he had little boxes that nobody really understood what they did. They were just like, they had little magic in them and you just used to plug them in and press buttons and noise would disappear. Yes. So tell me a little bit about, what's the history behind the brand?
Burkhard Lehle started, I think, end of the 90s in building hand-wired switching solutions. And now the brand became popular more and more. And he always wanted to have a switching system or a switching box or a splitter which is very reliable and good looking and easy.
Yeah.
I think he made it.
So, I guess this is the kind of product that's going to appeal to, it's certainly the gigging guitar player or the recording guitar player, but maybe even as well I hear quite a lot of, when I'm on different guitar forums, people at home will complain about background noise, earth hum, ground hum, stuff like that from their amplifier, and they're looking for sort of simple solutions to get rid of that. So I think the first angle that we'll start talking about, and the most common problem that we have in our video room, is this idea of earth hum. Do you call it, is earth hum what you'd call it in Germany, or do you call it something like a grounding issue?
It's a ground loop or ground hum or grounding issue, yes.
Let me just show you, if I switch the ground loop off. Okay.
So now both amps are connected via the switching system on the same ground level.
Just explain that to me again. So is it possible to get earth hum when you've only got one amp plugged in, or do you have to have two main supplies kind of plugged in?
You have to have different transformers.
Right. And they have to
also
be connected?
Also power supplies. And they all come together at one point, and this is the point where they all connect together, and this is producing hum.
So we've got several things plugged in here. This would be a normal Andertons kind of setup. So we've got the Fender Deluxe, the Hughes & Kettner Tubemeister. We've got an isolated power supply for the pedals, which I'm guessing is not the root of the problem. But we've also got a little powered monitor down here that we'll often use to sort of hear back what we're recording. And so we've absolutely got multiple devices connected. And as I said, that's typically what we'd have to contend with. Now, the more, if we were using drive pedals or more drive on amplifiers, that would just be amplified even more. If we're using, if we're wanting to turn the valve amps up a bit more to just sort of, get a better tone out of them, again, that becomes more annoying. And the longer it's on in the background, the more conscious I become of how annoying it is.
What? Exactly.
So let's look at the P-split first. One P-split. And this is a sort of a fairly single-minded device, isn't it? This is just designed to do a couple of things, isn't it? So what? Tell me about this.
I can explain it.
Yeah.
Here you have the input for your signal. You have a direct out. It goes straight out. So you have an isolated out. There's a transformer. We developed a transformer, and this transformer isolates galvanically the signal.
Galvanically.
Is this spelled correctly?
I have absolutely no idea what word you're trying to pronounce.
Galvanic isolation is a very simple thing. You have a magnet,
Yeah.
you have a wire and a second wire, but they don't touch each other because they are coated.
Okay.
And because of the magnet, the signal is distributed from the one wire to the other.
Yeah.
But it's not physically connected. That's galvanic
Okay.
isolation.
Wow, I've never heard that word before. But so we plug in,
Yeah.
and at the moment
signal
this
comes
is
in and it goes out to the isolated out and to the direct out.
and this is simply plugged in between the guitar and the amp, or can it be
Or 2
anywhere in
amps.
the chain?
2 amps.
But-
You need to have 2 amps to get a hum.
But it's so this if you were using an AB switch,
Yes.
would you have the ground in between the guitar and the AB switch, or in between the AB switch and one of the amps? It'd have to be in between the AB switch and one of the amps,
I
wouldn't it?
didn't understand this question.
That's okay. So obviously my guitar is plugged into
Yes.
an AB switch.
Yes.
And the AB switch, we're actually using this AB switch on the floor, which has got the P-split technology built into it. But if it was just a regular AB switch, or maybe
Yes.
I was using a stereo output from a delay pedal or something
Yes.
like that,
Yes.
would this device go after the pedal, or
Yes, of
from the?
course.
So it would. I see. So it would have to almost interrupt after the signal's been
Yes.
split.
In this case, if you have a stereo pedal like a stereo reverb and you go out stereo, then you have to interrupt one connection to one
Right.
amp and you go there in and to the isolated out.
I've got it. Now, the reason I think we use this box so much in the videos is because it's completely passive, isn't it?
Yes.
So it can just sit anywhere in your rig. It doesn't need batteries or any form of power.
There's a lot of more features. You
Oh,
have
cool.
you have a
Tell us
phase
more.
phase switch. You need this sometimes if you have phasing issues because 2 amps are or 1 amp is
Yeah.
how it's called,
Out of phase.
flipped out
Yeah.
of phase. Yes, and all inputs and outputs can be used in balanced as well.
So they're all TRS
Yes.
jacks as well as.
So you can go
unbalanced.
in with your acoustic guitar
Okay.
and go out with a balanced TRS signal straight into the mixing console. Or you can use the isolated for recording your guitar or your setup into a interface.
Yeah.
Or you can use it also for reamping.
Oh right. Okay.
We should write reamp box there.
Just because of because it does the level output correctly for reamping.
It's not about the level output, it's about the impedance.
Okay.
And because there's a transformer, the output impedance is not given from the interface, but the amp says, "Well, I'm an amp."
It's exactly what the amp says, it's especially valve amplifiers. So that's what we use loads. I must admit the phasing issue is, again, something where I think you need it's a weird thing when you have 2 amps. So let's just quickly explain phasing. And again, it's really only about a sort of a 2 amp situation. You guys all understand that basically a speaker makes noise by moving backwards and forwards. And effectively what happens when you have an out of phase situation is that what you've got is a setup where as one of the amp speakers moves forward, the other one moves backwards. So they're kind of doing this rather than doing this. I've suddenly realized what I'm doing. Anyway. And of course, what you want to get the fullest sound is for both speakers to be working, forward and backwards in harmony rather than against each other. And the phase switch on any of these devices is really simple in that it just reverses, it just flips around the direction that the speaker's going to move in. So if when you're listening, you're sitting there going, what do you think people would listen for to sort of hear something typically out of phase? Is it a loss of bass end and a loss of volume, or
You have very, very much loss in the mids. It's like a scooped sound.
Yeah. We could probably show that actually, couldn't we? Let's put both amps on, and let's show you what happens when we are out of phase.
It loses a little bit of energy in the mids, but flipping the phase about 180 degrees, no amp is never with the other amp 100% in phase.
Right.
So this is the biggest problem.
Right. Okay. So you're saying they're never ever truly out of phase, and therefore they're almost never ever truly in phase either. It's just about trying to match it to get it closer.
It starts if you come half a meter here or go there half a meter, and it suddenly changes.
Right.
Because you change the distance to the speaker.
And what the other time I've heard phasing being used more on an acoustic guitar is where it can sometimes help with removing feedback as well. Is that just a question of somehow by flipping the phasing on an amplifier it'll just change the way the sort of the amp performs, or is
usually those feedback from acoustic guitar come from the room modes, where the frequencies of the guitar, mostly between 100 and 250 hertz somewhere, they stand in the room and produce these deep hum. Flipping the phase can help, but I think there are better tools. Like
proper feedback eliminators.
Yes.
All right. So look,
high quality.
Oh, do you do those as well? Do you?
Eliminators, no.
Okay, fine. So look, so that's the P split.
Yes.
The P split. I'm going to just show you as well quickly. I have got another P split here. Now, bear in mind again, we'll typically have we've got separate P splits, and we've got the P split built into the little jewel here, and it's not uncommon for us in our videos to use both. I don't know why, but we get really bad hum when we're using a monitor in here. So I don't know if, can you hear that? That's all we're doing here is just taking the monitor output from the interface back into this little powered monitor down here. And for some reason, if we don't ground lift that, it's just insane. I haven't done any, it's not like I've switched this off. I've literally just isolated again the signal, lifted the ground, and we get silent operation, which is what we want.
Yes.
So look, let's talk about the little jewel now, which is the pedal that I've got on the floor here. So this is an active ABY box.
No, it's not active.
Okay.
It has basically the same functions as the P split.
Yeah.
It has a transformer built in, and you have a AB input, sends the signal to A or B. And of course you have the ground switch to reconnect the ground if you need it, or to flip the phase. And you can switch between the outputs. So switch between the outputs.
Here, look, I know we haven't got this connected, but just show people what the lights do. So
with the right foot switch, you can change the outputs.
You said the only reason you need power is to light the lights up, isn't it? So
yes,
fine.
it's completely.
Does it work on a battery or just a power supply?
No, just power
Just
supply.
power supply. Okay.
But it also works without.
You just can't see.
Yeah,
if you have it
you
without.
just can see.
Yeah.
With the right one, you're switching between the outputs, and with the left one, you're adding the missing output.
I see.
So left one is always great.
Now, you mentioned a point there which I thought was really interesting about reconnecting the ground. So why would you ever want the hum? Why would you ever want to reconnect the ground?
It doesn't mean if you reconnect the ground that it automatically hums.
Right.
And this is a strange thing about amps and input transformers and vintage amps and bars, clubs and stuff, and there's so much electronics, and sometimes it sounds better if you reconnect the ground so the amps are working with less noise. And
again, I don't know what the scientific reason for that is. I suspect somebody out there probably does, but again, I can concur that sometimes when we're using the P split, that we're just literally pressing all the buttons until it sounds better, rather than going, oh, that's the mode it needs to be in to get the sound that you want. So as I said, it's just a bit of magic in there. So going back to this, there's another, why have you got the sort of the AB and then another couple of outputs here?
Yes.
What are you?
There's a AB input, sends a signal to A and B.
Yeah.
The second input is the A input. If this jack is occupied, let's say you're coming out of a stereo delay,
right,
and you connect your amps to the stereo delay, left output, left amp, right output, right amp. What happens? You get a lot of hum.
Right.
You need to isolate this, but you have a stereo signal. So what do? You go with the stereo signal here in,
I see.
A, B, and A, and the signal goes in stereo out. But one side is isolated, and you still have the function to say, or the possibility to say, I want to add the left or the right. Or
that's cool.
One function. There are a lot of basses with 2 pickups.
Basses with 2 pickups. The stereo output.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, the old Gibson's ES335, I think they have a stereo output.
345 or the 35. Yeah,
I'm not sure. So go out with the stereo signal, go there in, and go to 2 different amps. Especially for bass, this makes a lot of sense.
And then you can still switch.
Yes, you have the Rickenbacker bass, and the neck pickup goes to this amp, and the neck pickup.
So basically, if you've got a stereo output from an effects pedal, but you always want to use both the amplifiers all the time, you could just have one of these.
Yes.
But if you've got a stereo output from a pedal or from a from a guitar or a bass of some sort, and you want to be able to switch the amps, you'd need one of these.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it. So I've got one of these on the floor down here. I'm just going to switch. You can kind of hear it's all silent switching. The switches they use feel very robust. So here we go. And then, or both together. I quite like the way, I'd have to sort of, get my head around it, but I quite like the way that the B button is always the one that switches, and the A button always adds the other amp regardless of which one you're switched to in the first place. That's quite clever, that is. I do like that. So that's the little Dual.
Yes.
We're not going to plug the 3 at 1, but this is another example of a switcher that Lehle do, which is where you might have 3 inputs now. So imagine you've got 3 different guitars that you want to switch to during a gig, and 1 amplifier that you want to run them through. Again, you've got
a tuner or a second amp you can switch between.
Yeah. So will this work in reverse? Can you have like 1 guitar in and 3 amps out, or is it always 3 in?
It would work, but we have also a 1 at 3. It's the blue one, if you have seen it.
So they do this in reverse, basically.
Yes, yes.
And then you've got A and B have got a couple of level controls on here, so you've got a little bit of adjustment over that as well.
The best thing at these bigger versions, at the SGOS versions, is that they are programmable.
These are programmable?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So these buttons are physically not connected anymore to any input or output. You can save any combination. You say, okay, first one is my Stratocaster, goes always to A, and if I push the second or the middle button, the guitar should go to the tuner out. So I program it to this button. There's also the blue one, at the 1 at 3 you can save different combinations, and on the Dual SGOS, the bigger version of this one, you also can save any combination what you want. This thing works also with MIDI.
Okay.
It has
MIDI in on a jack socket.
Yes.
So clever. It's the Germans.
Germans. Yes, you can send program changes, you can receive program changes.
I mean, there really are. There are, when you look on the Lehle website, or even on the Andertons website, because I think we list quite a lot of the products they make, there are quite a lot of more niche solutions than these, aren't there? We've picked the ones that I think have the most widest appeal. Whereas there's a lot of stuff that Lehle make where you've got a very specific solution that you need, and you can go and look at that. And I know Yoki is in the sort of tech support department, so if you've got a problem, isn't there an A-team line there? If you've got a problem and no one can help you, I think that's what they used to say at the beginning of the A-team. You can phone or email Yoki and say, and presumably you'll point them at the right direction for which pedal should solve that problem. This is the one that I'm most interested in, because I'll be honest with you, and not correct me, but I'm guessing that a lot of you are going to go, yeah, I'm with Lee on this one. I think we all hear a lot of stuff about true bypass and buffered bypass and, you know, boosts and particularly the buffer thing, and go, I'm a bit confused. You know, I spent my whole life, you know, all my growing up just using Boss pedals and Jim Dunlop wah-wah pedals. And then somebody said, but they're not true bypass, so they're all rubbish. You've got to buy true bypass pedals. So you go, okay, I'll replace everything with true bypass pedals. And then you go, I don't really know. And then people talk about cable lengths and how different guitar sounds. And there's that brilliant meme, isn't there, with, you know, Jimi Hendrix, and I forget exactly what it says, but something along the lines of Jimi Hendrix still managed to make great music despite the fact that, you know, he never had any true bypass pedals at Woodstock or whatever. But look, here is a really... So you explain to me first what a buffer does different to true bypass. What is the difference between a pedal with a buffer in it versus a pedal that has no buffer and is therefore true bypass?
Basically a buffer is any electronic circuit.
Any electronic circuit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It changes the impedance of your guitar. So if you want to hear your guitar like it should sound, take this cable and go into your amp.
It can't be any longer than that. It's got to be like a foot long.
Maybe this.
Right.
Yeah. So this should be the length of your guitar cable to hear how your guitar sounds like. If you increase the guitar cable length, you lose a lot of material and highs and energy of your guitar signal.
See, I always have a bit of a problem with this, because I remember about 2 years ago somebody came into Andertons because they designed an optical guitar cable, and the big deal with the optical guitar cable was it didn't matter how long it was, it didn't affect the impedance of the pickups at all.
Okay.
And they're like, therefore this is how your guitar is like really sounds, how it's supposed to sound. And I'm kind of like, well, but when Leo Fender was like inventing all these guitars, he just had a 20-foot cable to plug into his guitar amp. So in his mind, he must have been winding pickups to sound a certain way with this 20-foot cable. So I think there's a lot of, if I'm going to just say it, I think there's a lot of bullshit around the whole, like, whether you've got buffered or true bypass or whatever. I think the only important thing really for you is that you just understand what stuff does, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not you really need it.
Yes.
But here's a great example of, let's change this pedal from a true bypass. In other words, it's not going through any kind of electronic device at all. It's just, imagine we just didn't have this box here, it was just going straight through, to we'll add the buffer in. Now we've got here approximately 30 or 40 feet of cable, something like that. We've got, I think we've got maybe 15 feet that's going from the guitar to here, another 15 feet that's going from here to the amplifier, and we're also using the AB box. So maybe we've got a bit more cable than that. But here, what mode are we in now? Can we have it in true bypass?
We are in true bypass.
Okay,
yes.
so this is essentially us with no buffer.
It sounds okay.
Sounds great. So switch the...
It suddenly has more treble in it, does it?
Whilst I'm playing the chord, switch it.
If I put it back... Now suddenly, if you put it back to true bypass, the guitar sounds muffled.
You can definitely hear the loss of high frequency through what is presumably the length of cable. Now, you could equally argue that if your guitar doesn't have enough treble for you, you turn over and you turn the treble up, and that will obviously, I guess it doesn't replace the lost frequencies, but it boosts up what's left, and therefore...
This is the biggest problem. You can't pull up anything you have already lost.
If it's not there.
If it's not there, you can pull it up.
So if you've got pedals on your board that Is it possible to have like different kinds of buffer? Like what if you've got 3 pedals and 2 of them are true bypass and one of them isn't? One of them just has a buffer in it. Do you need to buy one of these as well, or should the buffer in the... Because I know things like a Boss DS1, like that has a buffer in it, doesn't it? And it's like a £50 pedal.
Yes. I mean, buffers differ also in the quality.
Right.
So a high quality buffer changes the impedance and has a very, very high headroom and doesn't produce any noise.
So
this is what a bad buffer does. It has no high headroom and
Yeah.
it produces a lot of noise. So you have a lot of not true bypass pedal, and suddenly your signal has lots of noise.
Just so you can hear it, here's the same experiment, if you like, into a clean amplifier. So if you wouldn't mind while I'm playing the chords,
Yes.
just... It does make a massive, massive difference. I'm inclined to not say better or worse, just different. I just think it's if you've got a gigging solution, you've got lots of pedals or whatever, and you're just thinking, yeah, the treble that I'm losing through my board annoys me, I'd like to add it back in, then a good buffer clearly is something that you can add. And buffers aren't expensive, are they? I mean, there's a whole range of buffers on the market. How much is the Sunday Driver has another feature, doesn't it? Do you make just a buffer, or is the Sunday Driver the only one that you make?
The Sunday Driver exists also in the normal version without a switch.
Yeah.
It's just a buffer, like you said. And this one is like the P split. You place it on the board, plug it in, and you're ready to go. This one has a built-in boost, a switchable boost, so you can compensate any signal loss you would lose in about 10, 15, 40 feet cable.
Yeah.
And but you can choose here also, if you're in true sound mode, the pedal is always buffered, regardlessly if the pedal is on or off.
Yeah.
But you can, if you activate it, add some boost. I think it goes up to 15 dB or 12 dB. So you can go through your chain with more level.
Yeah.
And if you have a good tube amp, you can tickle the preamps.
So if you switch it into true bypass, it's always true bypass, whether you've got the boost on or off. And if you switch it into to the true sound or the buffered version, it's always
buffered.
So it's not switching the buffer on and off; it's switching the boost on and off. So let's have a little listen to what the I'll put the which amp shall I put on? I might put the driven amp. So it's quite a handy, just almost like lead boost solo thing, isn't it? How much extra? And tell me again, this S and D switch, what did that do?
The D means it's completely linear boost.
Right.
And the pedal has an input impedance of about 1 mega ohm. If you're going in Sunday mode, it increases the input impedance to 4 mega ohm. Means especially acoustic instruments or instruments with a piezo sound more touchable. Also some guitars.
So it's additional boost. Is that what you're sort of saying?
No, it's just increasing the input impedance. It makes it's really hard to explain because it makes instrument more touchable.
Will it make a difference if you switch?
Let's try it.
Let me see.
This one is in the drive mode. This is the Sunday mode.
It's not really making a difference that I can hear or feel on this guitar.
It really depends on the guitar, and it depends on the amp.
Yeah.
And very important is if you're pulling up the gain, in the Sunday mode, you have a really, really small high cut, because an amp can often sound very harsh.
Yeah.
So the Sunday mode's adding a little bit of a high cut. It's not a DJ high cut, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit to make the sound feeling more warmer.
Cool. Right, so that's the Sunday driver.
Yes.
I hope that's kind of explained a little bit about what the whole buffer thing does. And again, I'm still in the camp that I don't think there is, like, you know, true bypass isn't better, buffered bypass isn't better. I think, again, it's just important that you understand what's happening to your signal chain so that you can make an informed decision about, you know, what to add or take away to get the tone that you ultimately want. Now,
a good way to start is put a high quality buffer at the beginning of your chain, have a few true bypass pedals, and simply put out the buffer, put in the buffer, and if you need the buffer, you will hear it.
Yeah. Would you always have the buffer at the beginning of the signal chain or the end of the signal chain? Right at the beginning?
Yes, because once the signal is changed from high impedance, which is a very
low, or is it small? Or?
Low, small, yes.
It's a tiny voltage output, isn't it?
Yes,
the guitar output, yeah.
And the high impedance is the problem as well. So the buffer changes the high impedance to low impedance. Once, if you're low impedance, you can go and go and go and go.
Oh, so it's a little bit like, essentially, when you're using, you know, microphone cable, and you seem to be able to have, if you put a balanced low impedance signal, you can have 100 meters of microphone cable
150
with no signal loss.
Yes.
But a guitar through a 2-core cable, a high impedance, as the cable gets longer, the more you lose in terms of high end and volume, presumably. Okay, cool. Well, I hope that's made sense. So last pedal that we're going to talk about from Lehle is the volume pedal. And you said this is the most popular product in the Lehle range. And of course, everybody understands why guitar players use volume pedals, and so that's fine. But there's dozens of different brands of volume pedal out there. Why is the Lehle one so clever?
Because it has no potentiometer.
Okay, so
it's also not optical. It's working with
it's just magic. Is that what you're saying?
It's working with magic. Oh no, magnetic is the word. Sorry.
So
it's magnetic.
So let's just quickly recap. Most volume pedals have effectively. Oh, need a bit of WD-40 in this.
You need a magnet in there.
Yeah. Most volume pedals will work on the same technology that your volume control does in your guitar. It's a potentiometer, and as you move that with your foot, you're doing this.
And then you have a string or some gear to translate the mechanism of the pedal.
This is probably a good example of this is the downside, or because if you have a mechanical old-fashioned pot, as it gets worn and dirty and dust inside it, you get that. So that's why I guess some manufacturers have moved away from using the pot. Now I've heard of, I guess the most famous optical ones are the one that I can't remember the name of now.
Hilton.
No.
Goodrich.
No. Who does the wire, the optical wire? Steve Vai at Morley.
Yes.
Of course, I can't remember. I don't know why I forgot that. So, and I've never really understood that technology, but presumably there's some sort of device that lets light in or doesn't let light in or whatever like that, and operates in the same way. So as the pedal moves, it adjusts the range of the volume or the wire or whatever it is.
It's an optical resistor.
Now,
something like that.
I'll be totally honest with you. I have very limited experience of using that. I just know that I never really liked the sound of the Morley wire. So that's just so what I've done is tarnished the entire optical technology based on the fact that I never really liked the sound of the Morley wah. I could be completely wrong. It could be brilliant, but there we are. So you're using magnets.
Yes, we are using magnets. Here's a magnet in there.
Yeah.
And in the bottom on the PCB is a sensor. It's called Hall sensor, named after Edwin Hall, the inventor.
From Hall & Oates?
Sorry?
I'm joking. Carry on. She's a man-eater. It's a massive hit, that one.
So yes, there's a sensor and measures the distance of the magnet.
And is that kind of technology consistently accurate? So if we got like 10 of these pedals next to each other, would they all perform the same?
Yes.
Or really, it's that scientifically accurate?
It has to be calibrated.
Yeah.
Of course, it has to be, but it's a very, very fast and accurate technology.
So why, and what do you think the advantages are then of this kind of technology over the traditional pot or the optical?
It doesn't wear out. It has no noise. It's an active pedal. It has a VCA. VCA we know from compressors or from synthesizers.
What's a VCA?
A voltage controlled amplifier.
Okay.
So it's an amplifier, and if it gets voltage, it makes it wah loud.
Okay.
And it's better to pull something up than to pull something down.
Right. So what you're saying is that if your signal level is here, a traditional, a non-active traditional volume pedal can only reduce it, can't it? But you're saying that this pedal can kind of either boost or reduce it. Is that what you're sort of saying?
No, VCA, like I said, can also boost, of course, but it's an active circuit, active device, and doesn't lower the volume like a potentiometer.
Whoever decided that German people and English people should pronounce their V's and W's differently, I think you have a lot to answer for. It was a ridiculous decision. We should all pronounce V's and W's the same, and then everyone would understand what everyone was saying. I'm not saying that English is right or German is right. I'm just saying the world would be a better place if we all did the same thing. Statement. Just saying. Right, can we plug this in? Because I just feel like I need to experience if and how it's any different at all to a normal volume pedal. It's really hard to, what I do quite like is you can feel that the bit of the pedal that's moving isn't mechanically kind of connected to the base of the pedal. So the pedal has a really nice smooth flow. It doesn't feel like there's any resistance there.
You can make it, you can make the feel harder or easier. No. Sorry? Softer through a screwdriver. But yes, of course, the pedal is softer than any other volume pedal because it doesn't have the mechanical transmission. And
I mean, again, I don't know whether or not sonically it's going to perform any differently. And can you calibrate, or not calibrate, can you adjust what the minimum point would be or the maximum point, or is it always going to go from 0 to everything?
This pedal, it's the standard mono volume. Mm-hmm. It changes from 0 to 100%.
Yeah.
And you can add a gain up to, I think, 12 dB.
Oh, okay. So with the gain all the way off, it's just going to however loud the guitar would be with no pedal.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I'll turn it up now. So this is I've just turned it all the way up. So let's just see what happens now. Oh, it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. Well, look.
We have also new from the NAMM. We have a new pedal. The mono volume, it has the connections on the side. It's great for pedal steel players because they have their rack table. And this one has then also a minimum volume pot.
Is there a stereo one?
We also have a stereo version now.
wah-wahs or just volume?
Just volumes.
Just volume. Just volume. About
Just volume.
I know Pete was saying one of his friends, I'm not going to name drop him, but extremely well-known guitar player doing the touring circuit, is a big volume pedal user and has broken every single volume pedal that he's ever had until he had this one. And I guess...
I heard the story a few times.
Yeah, so I guess that's the thing. It's just an unbreakable volume pedal. But look, I hope you guys have found Yoki coming in and explaining a little bit about what his company's switching solutions do, especially the buffer thing, the ground lift thing. I can only really say, thank you very much for coming in, but thank you mostly for making products that enable us to make video without a really annoying hum in the background all the time, or where we need to plug multiple devices into stuff. They're very cool. So I appreciate you. I do appreciate you. Look, what are you're holding?
It's Pete's Dual SGOS.
We should say again that there's clips on. If you ever see Pete's full touring pedal board,
it's big.
There's stacks of Lehle product on there that he uses all the time. He's got the acoustic DI.
Yes.
Anyway, look, there's tons of stuff. But look, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck with everything this year.
Thanks a lot.
And yes, I shall see you at the next NAMM show, I'm sure.
Great.
All right. Cheers, man.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
See you next time. How do you say it? Do you say W and you say W for a V, don't you? You would say voltage, wouldn't you?
Voltage.
Oh, you would say voltage.
Voltage.
Is that because you've been in England for a long time?
I can't say voltage.
You wouldn't say voltage.
Voltage. No, voltage just sounds wrong to me. Voltage.
What? Voltage.
Voltage.
You know in English. So
Voltage.
everything in German that begins with a V,
Yes.
we would say voltage.
Yes.
But you would say voltage. If a German word begins with a V, it would be pronounced W, right?
No, F.
Yeah.
F.
Yeah.
Voltage.
Volkswagen, isn't it?
Volkswagen.
Like
Vogel.
Volkswagen is like
Vogel.
Volk is
So
people.
why don't you say
like folks.
why don't you say voltage then? Why do you say voltage?
Because he's talking English.
Yeah. Problem solved. Hey man, I'm talking English. I'm actually from Germany. Do you know?
Germany.
Oh my
I'm
god.
from Germany.
Honestly, if we can fix this, we can fix anything. It's fine.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah. Right.
I'm the same. I can't say very.
Can I?
Very.
Very
like
voluptuous.
vaginas.